Welcome back to Football 301. I am your host, Nate Tice. Great Tuesday show for you. Today, we're going to be recapping that Monday Night Football doubleheader that came on during the same time as a Mariners win. So that was a very complicated for me, justifying or splitting time between my personal cheering matters and my professional watching matters. But anyways, very entertaining games to go for, to talk about. Bears, Commanders, Falcons, Bills. We also, the chunk of the show, our biggest question marks for contending teams. Is it something with the defense? Is it the offense? Is it the quarterback? Is it the O-line? So we'll be jumping in a wide open NFL and all those contending teams. To help me do that, like every Tuesday, Mr. Matt Harmon. How are you doing today, Matt? Great to see you.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Just plowing along here, man. I mean, we're about to be in week 7. I was writing a piece today, and you can almost say first half of the regular season here. We're getting pretty close to that point. So, I always like to say my buddy Sigmund Bloom's famous line, which is that you can be right and wrong about a player/team in the course of one season, which I think is kind of important for our show today, asking, some of these questions, which are these issues that are just going to haunt these contending teams over the course of the year, or is there enough time to get them fixed?
And also how we divvied it up, we were just like, all right, pick 4 or 5, and it wasn't just teams, like we were just like these 5 teams. It was more just because there's so many available teams to talk about. It's like, yeah, I think this team's contender question mark. And I was like, but ones I would feel much better on. Like that's where records are kind of thrown out at this point. It's like, yeah, all these teams have winning records, obviously, but there's going to be a 500 team we talk about today. And it's like, I don't know, I feel almost better about the 500 team, the Chiefs, spoilers, than I do some of the other teams that maybe have a better record. So it's going to be fun because I think that's a great way to put it, is that like I've felt correct on some preseason takes and I felt very wrong. And like, it's about the same exact team. And maybe some of them are about the same exact take. So it'll be fun to splice through that. But before we jump into Monday Night Football recap, check us out on the Yahoo Sports Network, available to stream on leading fast services and also on yahoosports.tv. Make sure to check that out. Plenty of good stuff. Let's jump into Monday Night doubleheader. We'll go with the second-year quarterback battle that happened in our nation's capital. Bears squeak by the Commanders 25-24, taking advantage of 3 turnovers from that Commanders offense, a couple fumbles, interception. Bears had a much improved run game out of the bye week, which was kind of like expecting them to be better, but it was a little bit quicker right out of the bye week. Seeing DeAndre Swift probably be the player of the game potentially, if I just off the top of my head how he played, which is just, I mean, good for him. Huge plays. That catch and run on the check down touchdown was great. There really was some cool stuff from this Bears offense, but they pull ahead against Commanders team. Very entertaining game. So very sloppy game, not just because of the rain, but just miscues and penalties, especially on the Bears side. But what were some of your takeaways on this game, Matt? Because this was a very entertaining tilt.
Yeah, it was really entertaining, and I'm glad that you highlighted the run game for Chicago, because to me, kind of coming out of the bye week, it's like, are we going to see, more of their top 2 draft picks, Colson Loveland, Luther Burden, maybe even more Kyle Monungai, another rookie that they're a little bit excited about, that 7th round running back. But we didn't really see any promotions for either of those 2 pass catchers, but instead you could clearly see that it wasn't Ben Johnson in the lab on the passing game during the bye, but clearly an emphasis on the run game. And I thought having Darnell Wright back healthy was a huge boost, especially in the run game. He was an ass kicker all night long. DeAndre Swift in this game, 2 yards before contact per rush attempt, 5.7 yards after contact per rush attempt. So not only were they getting some push for him, he was also adding on to it as well. So great performance by him individually. But yeah, it just felt like, I don't know if you noticed anything particular in what they were doing. Watching it live, it's always harder to tell than going back and studying it on film, of course, but they're doing anything different in the run game. But to me, it just felt like a little more buttoned up, getting consistent push, especially on the edge. I'm curious, like how much of those yards after contact and stuff was on runs that broke to the outside, which is a little bit more DeAndre Swift's game. So I just thought that was really impressive. The run game in particular, which just allowed the offense which wasn't consistent in the passing game. And we could talk about that, but it wasn't consistent in the passing game, but it allowed them to stay a little bit more on schedule and didn't just put so much burden on the quarterback, which was nice to see.
No, that's a great point. Great shout out to Darnell Wright, because not only that he had some like just steadiness, that's what most offensive line play is, but also some highlight blocks, which is always entertaining, especially from a tackle who's playing with a bum arm, I think he has right now. But that run game, though, that was the thing. The Bears passing game is really starting to cook. Like, it's been more like, I'd say slightly above league average. That's how I would like rate it right now. Kind of that 13th to 16th, 17th range, somewhere around there. Not just stats, but just if I had to rank them. But it was, the run game had to get going because you don't want all those third and longs. You just balance of the offense. 56% rushing success rate according to True Media, which is their tied for their highest since 2013. I don't really trust True Media stats before 2013, some of this stuff. So since 2013, this is tied for the Bears' highest rushing success rate in a game. Tied with Week 16, 2016, also against the Commanders, who were called by a different name at that point in time. But no, it was a lot of side-to-side stuff, which I thought was really interesting because it was not only, it was a great game plan against that Commanders defense with Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu at linebacker, who are much better going forward. Yeah. So if you get them going side to side, they just want to plug forward. Like, and that's why it's hard to run on them because they can just kind of clothesline guys. But getting them going side to side, a lot of tosses. Some of them are zone. Some of them are pin pull, which is a great way to kind of change up those looks too, because those are different blocking angles. And we also get to see some Roman Dunze power slot blocking, which I was pretty excited about.
Those receivers were blocking their asses off last night. I would say even DJ Moore had a couple of nice blocks. Yeah, Burden as well. Like, and you always talk about this. That's when you can tell guys are bought into the offense. I mean, Dunze definitely had a couple of like critical big time blocks, and also definitely could have had some critical big time catches that, you know, Caleb misses him on the one downfield shot, and then obviously the one touchdown gets wiped off the board. So as an Dunze bro, I've got to just, you know, complain about that for half a second here. But yeah, no, the wide receiver blocking stood out all night as well.
Absolutely. And like you said, it's buy-in. It's tackling and blocking or pure buy-in from players. You know, some just have it naturally. It doesn't matter who the coach is. Oh my God, that touchdown should have been beautiful. Theo Benedict, I think his name is. He's the left tackle for the Bears, a Canadian, undrafted free agent from Canadian. His second year, I believe. We have two Canadian left tackles in the NFC North. The Lions got a Canadian left tackle as well. I just thought that was an interesting factoid.
Interesting.
We've gone from 0 to 2 Canadian left tackles in just a couple of weeks. But that kind of summed up the Bears' kind of performance a little bit, or passing game wise, where it was like some highs and some really nice moments from Caleb, but also just some sloppiness, just some formation stuff. It felt like the refs were so ticky tack though, which is it was just, it's not about you. It's annoying. A night game. Like, just stay away. I know it's your first year being a head ref. I get it. I'm blanking on his name right now. But I thought the screen game was good, which is huge for this Bears Ben Johnson offense. The running back screen, they had one to Swift early. They had one to DJ Moore early. Also, sidebar, hope DJ Moore is healthy and okay.
Yes.
I know he had to stay overnight because of his concussion. Always scary. But no, I thought the play action game, I thought that it played to DeAndre Swift's strengths, which is he has awful vision. I can just easily say that. So, but like toss plays, all right, get him out in open space. He doesn't have to weave in between linebackers. He just has to plant his foot, bounce it, or plant his foot and cut back and cut against the grain, which is much more conducive to his game and matches his game. But you got to see Monangai going. You got to see some good motion stuff from this Bears offense. I loved all the backfield action they had, and that's where some sloppiness comes because they're putting a lot on these guys' plates. And you got to remember, Loveland's a rookie. Odunze's a second-year player. Luther Burden's a rookie. Like, these are guys, that language can take some time, to like really get comfortable with, but they're putting it on their plate, and it had some nice moments. On the other side of the ball, I thought the Bears defense, they had the turnovers. I thought the Commanders were still able to bop them in the face a little bit. But they really held up against that run game. You felt the return of TJ Edwards. He's a nice solidifying force for this defense. Kyler Gordon was back, went up the touchdown, but that was just a great throw and catch from Jane Daniels to, why am I blanking on his name? But
it's Chris Moore, right?
Who was it? Chris Moore. Yes. It was Chris Moore. Because I was like, wasn't Lane.
Chris Moore in the year 2025. I mean, unbelievable. What
I thought it was a different Chris Moore.
Nope, it's that one. It's that one. It's played for a bunch of teams. It kills me, by the way. I know this is something I talk about a lot, but it kills me, by the way, that every time we're doing a Commanders game, the booth always brings up, yeah, and they're without Noah Brown, which I'm just like, oh my God, no, stop talking about Noah Brown. No, he's not. He's like a nice role player, but you shouldn't be like one of your top outside receivers, no. and he's also never healthy. So what are we talking about here? That's just gonna be an issue all season long.
I know that's such a great point too. Once Terry gets back, we'll probably see a little jump with the passing. But it was like
totally. I don't know. Debo banged up in this game too.
Say again, Debo.
Debo was banged up coming into this game as well. And he was pretty clearly not involved.
Yeah, he always battles stuff. Because he's just heavy wear and tear. That's the thing too. Is like they're giving him a lot of usage. The Commanders' offense, I still feel kind of like, okay, this is kind of what I expect out of you. That's like one of their worst games because of the turnovers, obviously, but they're still moving the ball fine. The Bears defense, getting those two guys back, Gordon and Edwards, those are huge names or huge bodies for this defense. I can't remember if Austin Booker, if he got a bunch of reps or not, but he's an interesting young guy for them as more of a pass rusher. But it was nice to see some reinforcements for this defense that, I think the run defense is going to be an issue for them the whole year because of the defensive tackle play, but at least just be okay. Will give themselves a chance to kind of like hang in these games, just like they did here. Opportunistic turnovers. I thought the interception was a great play in the red zone, just overran it or just undercut it, I should say. Loved a lot of the action, like I said, on offense for the Bears. So it was like sloppy, but a nice, promising performance from this Bears team. And then the Commanders team, I'm like, just get a little bit healthier at receiver. Yeah. I think the defense is going to have some issues all year, just kind of how they are, but I think they're actually okay. They can get some pressure. I think Dorrance Armstrong's having a great year. I got to, I'm going to write a most improved column, most improved players, and he's going to be one of them. So I wanted to give him a shout out for the Commanders defense, but entertaining, sloppy, fun game with some high quarterback play at times, some good running plays from the Bears, but the Bears pull it off. And I think this is a huge victory for them. But moving on to the other Monday Night Football tilt. The Falcons, I don't even want to put upset, but I'd say beat down the Bills. I think the Falcons controlled this whole game from start to finish. I thought Jeff Ulbrich and Raheem Morris absolutely out-game planned and outperformed this Bills offense and Josh Allen and Joe Brady. Absolutely had them in the lion tamer, the walls of Jericho. Any of the figure four, I don't know how many wrestling holds I can go through, man of 1,004 holds. But man, I thought Josh Allen had a 37% dropback success rate, and he was my leader for MVP going this week. A 3.57 adjusted net yards per attempt, which is the lowest since week 17 in 2023. That's adjusted net yards includes touchdowns, interceptions, but also sacks and everything. He was pressing, it felt like, 2.5 yards past the sticks, his average air yards. And when he starts to do that, that's when you kind of feel he's not feeling it. Like good Josh Allen is kind of nickel dime, haymaker, nickel dime, haymaker. When he's just throwing and chucking, oh no, that's the bad Josh Allen. So I looked it up. In his career, when he's pushed it 2 or more yards past the sticks, the Bills are 9-7. I know some of that's them trying to come back in some games and everything, but it kind of just that matches the eye test. I feel like they just get off their game when he starts kind of devolving into a younger Josh Allen. But what do you think about this game? And I mean, the Falcons offense looked great, especially the run game, which is still one of my most favorite things to watch in the NFL. But what do you think about this game?
Yeah, I want to put the Bills aside for a second because I want to do we're gonna do
we'll
Bills
get to them.
Yeah, we'll get to them. But I want to give the Falcons a ton of credit on both sides of the ball here. Number one, I don't know what it is, but ever since that Zach Robinson's come down from the booth, they've been great on offense, and it's just basically been keep it simple, stupid. Like get the ball to your good players. Drake London goes for over $150 in this game. He's the only wide receiver to get to catch a pass in this game, which again just. Who'd you think was going to catch passes for the Atlanta Falcons? It's going to be Drake London in the slot, moving around. He's such a mismatch when he gets in the slot. That was great to see. And then Bijan Robinson is just a freaking superhero in this game. He looks like the best running back in the NFL right now. They were weaponizing him as a wide receiver too, aligning in the slot, aligning outside. So that's what he was doing in the passing game. And in the run game, he was just an unbelievable force. 81-yard long run in this game, which I think is both the longest of his career and the longest run of this season by a running back. So incredible performance by Bijan Robinson. He is just a hilariously good player, and I think their offensive line is weathered through injuries. They picked up another injury in this game with Jake Matthews going to the locker room and being ruled out. So yeah, like they're not even playing with a full deck on offense. Darnell Mooney missed this game. They're not playing with a full deck on offense, and they were still excellent from an offensive standpoint. I agree with you. They had the jump on Buffalo's defense right away, and they might have been outdone by their own defense in this game because. Listen, I know we talked a lot about the Falcons and their potential issues on defense in the offseason. This is a total capitulation moment, I think. That defense plays hard. They play fast. They throw a ton of bodies at you. They blitzed Josh Allen on 56% of his dropbacks in this game, pressured on 44% of his dropbacks. As we're showing on the screen right now, Mina Kimes notes that's the highest pressure rate of the season, according to Next Gen Stats. It's the only game in which he's faced pressure on more than 30% of the time. And I think part of why he started to press is because typically Allen feels like he can bail out of the side, not out of the back, but out of the side of pockets and like reset consistently. Every time he looked to move around, there was just another body in his face. And it's not as even if like Jalen Walker and James Pierce are balling out or anything. I mean, they're playing well in their moments, but they're throwing like Rook Aurora at you. They're throwing a bunch of bodies at the problem right now. And again, they play fast. They make it really difficult up front. So I think this Falcons defense, before the bye, kind of, is this real? Is this a little bit of a mirage? This was a very we're pretty real performance. We'll see how high they fly by the end of the season, but that is a much improved unit, no question about it.
Yeah, I want to talk about the first in DVOA right now, that Falcons defense going into this week and after this week, and they are fast. I'll talk more about them in a sec. The Falcons offense, the run game usage was great. How they get to zones is awesome. Love the motion. They're figuring out their play action that ties in more to the offense. Like we said, when we ranted about them a couple weeks ago, that was what it was. So siloed is the term I always use. Now it's all merging together. It's funky how they get, because they do so much pistol, how they do some play action stuff, but it's like now it feels more cohesive as opposed to just like good play spamming. Oh, this play works, but it looks like nothing else we do, So once defenses see that, they go, oh, they're in this formation. All right, play action or this run or yada, yada, yada. It's more tying in. And I thought that was just all day. Bijan is just amazing. Tyler Algier, you got the hamster ball rolling. You don't play the video game Overwatch, but he's just like Wrecking Ball Hammond. He just rolls over people.
I'm familiar with what it is, but so yeah. I've never played it.
That's my nickname for him is Hamster Ball, because usually it's the fourth quarter and then there's Tyler Algier, because it never looks like he changes speed. He's going the same speed the whole time, and then you just see bodies just go as he just bounces off the first touchdown. I'm glad he brought up the Falcons O line, because if you told me both their tackles are out, I'm like, oh boy. But Matthew Bergeron, their left guard, is playing excellent football. And both the Algier touchdown, where he runs over the Bill safety, I have more to talk about the Bill safeties in a sec, and then also the Bijan long touchdown. He has a great cutoff on a blitzing linebacker. He's playing excellent right now, so I wanted to give him a shout out. But back to that Falcons defense and Ulbrich, and I thought Raheem Morris, they had they just out-game playing him. And I thought Joe Brady panicked, where Joe Brady kept running 5-man protections, and where the running back is truly releasing on a route. Sometimes, I think people misconstrue this, that 6-man protections can end up looking like 5-man because the running back gets out on a route. But true 5-man, empty protection, gone protection, whatever you want to call it, scat, on those looks, the running back will usually release to the flat or run a wheel. And what defenses do, especially 3-down defenses like the Falcons, is those outside linebackers will peel. So what they're doing is there's no one technically on the man. There's someone is technically man on the running back, but if he releases to the flat, rather than rush the passer, they peel with the back. and it can really create some difficult angles unless you have a really fast back against a slow outside linebacker. The Falcons are light in the pants, which is kind of curious why I thought the Bills would just road grade them, and they were good in the run game, which is like, again, what were you doing, Joe Brady? But on third down, they kept going 5-man protection. We're going to get James Cook on a wheel. We're going to run mesh over and over and over. And the Falcons were like, okay, we're just going to blitz your ass off. And they just blitzed them. And Josh Allen was just like, I mean, who I think has become one of the best pre-snap recognition guys, was panicking. Like, he got the ball and immediately looked down at the rush. And it's been a while since I've seen him play like that. Maybe the Jets game last year, or the Texans game last year, I should say, where he's just looking down rather than looking for a hop. Or looking for, and maybe it was because he thought the back would just, James Cook would pop free, or maybe just something, but they were one page behind. It just felt like the whole game, which is really cool to see from the Falcons defense that I, still have questions on. I don't think they're the best defense in the NFL, but now I'm like, I thought this defense would be bottom 10, and I'm like more like, they're probably 12th, 10th. They can kind of get up there because they have so much speed that they can kind of overcome some of these things. But I just thought that, Brady, again, just kind of like, was just one step behind the whole game. I thought they got Josh Allen to panic a little bit. He's double clutching throws. They used Jalen Walker better. I thought the Falcons defense, as far as using him as a Swiss Army knife rather than just a straight pass rusher, where he's like feigning blitz and then running with a receiver or running back. So just a really, really good performance from the Falcons, and hats off to them. There was no luck there. That was a true beatdown win against the Bills team that, I mean, some people had as a contender. Most people had as a contender. I would have considered them a top 4 team going into that week. But why I had hesitations about that, it leads us to our first question. My first question for our contenders, and that's the Bills defense, and how are you going to fix the spine of your defense? And by the spine of defense, I mean defensive tackles, linebackers, and safeties, particularly the safeties for the Bills. And all right, it's about to get into some like interesting stats time from Next Gen Stats here. Okay. Next Gen Stats has some tackling stats that are great. Our friend Keegan Abdu is like has shown me this before, and I was like, all right, I've really been diving into them. They have a stat called group tackles. So group tackle opportunities, I should say. So they have solo tackle opportunities, a guy one-on-one, but then group tackles. The Bills so far this year have 192 group tackle opportunities. It's the lowest in the NFL. The league average is 274. So why does this matter? This Bills defense is small. This is what they go for. Even at linebacker, if they have 3 guys out there, they're all like 225, 230 pounders. They play a lot of zone coverage, and then they win by rallying to the ball, tackling. That's why they get so many turnovers. They punch the ball out because you have a guy tackling, another guy's hitting the ball. It's just part of their identity. Yeah, we'll sacrifice some things for speed and a lot of bodies at the ball. So this is an issue. When you don't have guys group tackling, well, it looks like how they looked against the Falcons, where a lot of guys are on islands getting run over. And I think it really comes down to the safety play. So they have Next Gen Stats has another stat called first opportunity tackle depth. So basically, it's what it sounds like. It's what it sounds like on the tin. The first time you're able to tackle the guy, what's the distance there? Distance in yards. Right now, Taylor Rapp, his first opportunity depth is 12 yards. Cole Bishop, it's 9.5 yards. Okay, why does that matter? What does it mean? In 2021, when this Bills defense, they run a lot of quarters, which means the safeties are going to be part of the run defense, the run fit. In 2021, when they had Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, kind of in their primes, really peaking and just great safety duo, Micah Hyde's average depth was 7.4 yards. Jordan Poyer's was 7.8 yards. It's a 3, 4, 5 yard difference play in, play out. And that's what it feels like when I watch this Bills defense. There's not a lot of bodies on the ball. There's a lot of guys wide open. In the run game, these guys aren't making tackles to be a safety to save the play. And I don't see how this is going to improve. And I just keep looking at it like, this is bad because it's the run and the pass. You can get away with one of those things and mitigate that. I know I've been talking for a while, but this is just really interesting to me because the eye test matches this. When I look at the stats, I'm like, this is exactly what it looks like right now. Their average tackle distance right now in this entire defense is 17 yards. When they were peaking in 2021, it was under 16 yards. And I know that's only a yard, but those add up. When you're running 60-something plays, that's like 2, 3, 4 yard differences every single play. I'm like, this is hard for me. I know the AFC is wide open, the NFC is wide open, But when you get those best teams and you're saying, oh, now we're going to go against the Chiefs, and now we can't tackle Rashee Rice. Now we can't tackle these guys with the ball in their hands. Now they're getting 8 yards a pop because our safeties aren't filling the run. This is a big question mark to me and a big issue because the Bills don't like to change their defensive structure, and this has just been a lot of issues. So sorry for rambling so much. I know I just went 5 minutes straight, but this is like that. I thought this stat really kind of tied into what I'm watching on the eye test wise. So I have a lot of issues with the spine of this Bills defense.
No, yeah, it feels that way. They're neither like big and overwhelming, nor are they small and fast. You know, they feel
right.
They feel small and slow.
Small and slow is not a great combination, Matt.
Not a good combination at all. And yeah, no, I think that everything you laid out there really describes exactly how it feels watching this defense right now, where it just feels like the issues are systemic. You know, from just with how the defense is designed and also the personnel that they've chased. And it kind of feels the same way on offense too, honestly. You know, I think Joe Brady's a good offensive coordinator. Yeah, like that's exactly right. That's exactly the way that to say it on both sides of the ball, really. And I think I have, obviously, if I was to think about it, I think I got more faith in the offense figuring it out because they have Josh Allen as opposed to the defense. Like, I think the defense just is what it is. But you saw last night that, yeah, when you don't have number 17 playing perfect, and like, there's no reason to let him off the hook. I think he played a poor game last night. I think he would tell you that. And I love the way you described that. But God, I mean, I said it on the show last week, the whole everybody eats thing is totally on my radar, and nobody gets open on this team. Like, you lose Josh Palmer early in the second quarter and you're just toast. Josh Palmer's a nice player. You don't have Dalton Kincaid in this game. Like, again, a nice player. Like, Kincaid is a nice player having a really good year. He's been their most impactful downfield receiver, and he plays, you know, not even all the snaps because of his kind of systemic issues. So, I mean, the Keon Coleman thing is what it is. I saw this stat today, which I thought was crazy, that Keon Coleman right now on the whole in the fourth quarter versus the Ravens, 7 catches, 95 yards and a touchdown. In the other 23 quarters, 17 catches, 142 yards and a touchdown. And it's just like he's giving them nothing, especially in a matchup with AJ Terrell. So it's just like, yeah, both the defense and the offense feel like there are systemic issues here. Not as much on the offense from a design perspective, but definitely a design perspective on defense and personnel. And I just keep coming back to, I think they misevaluated the personnel on the offensive side of the football from a pass catching standpoint. And like, that's not changing. Like, I don't think something's going to happen here where there suddenly turns around. So yeah, I'm not total Bills panic, but I know that Bills fans are, and I kind of get where they're coming from right now, because I don't see how either issue gets fixed.
I know, like I agree with you that I have more faith in the offense. I know I just ragged on Joe Brady and everything, but and Josh Allen's Josh Allen. He's great. He's unbelievable. And they're about to go on their bye week. And so we're about to have a bye week. We just got beat down like that. I bet you they run the ball 40 times the week after. Oh, yeah. I bet you they're just going to, I guarantee I'll put it at 30. That might be my Hail Mary in week 8, how many times they run the ball.
Hopefully no wide receiver rush attempts, by the way. I don't need any more Elijah Moore, Knox.
On 4th and 1, Elijah Moore jet sweeps. Are you having a laugh? Oh my God, I forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me.
That will be enough of that. Thank you.
Oh my God. I know. What are you, Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin? I get it when he was the best player there, but that group tackle opportunity, just the rate, I'll end on that. Right now they average 32 of these a game. Okay. So 32 group tackles a game. Last year it was 50 a game for the Bills. In 2021, when this defense was at its peak, it was 58. They've gone from 58 a game to 32 a game. That is significant. It's just one of these things where it's like you said, you keep using the word systemic, and that's exactly how I feel. So let's get on to your first biggest question for a contending team. What do you got for me, Matt Harmon?
Yeah, I'll go with the Denver Broncos here, and I want to know, why are you afraid of your quarterback? That's my question for the Denver Broncos. So I have no, by the way, just as a table setter, I have no symmetry in terms of, am I asking the team questions? Am I asking a question aloud? This is one I'm asking the Denver Broncos. Why are you afraid of your quarterback? Sean Payton has expressed a ton of faith in Bo Nix since they drafted him. A ton of faith. Basically, when they drafted him, basically implied that the rest of the league was stupid for not seeing what he saw in Bo Nix, and continues to say that he's a great quarterback and all this. And they treat him with kid gloves, and I think the opposing team on Sunday, which, good Lord, had more than their fair share of problems in the New York Jets, and we're not talking about them in the contender section, that's for sure. But they treated this Denver offense like they weren't afraid of them. Even that the completely mind-numbing, outrageous 2-minute drill at the end of the first half, which is one of the most bizarre sequences I've ever seen in an NFL field.
Yes.
But essentially the thesis there was, well, we just didn't want to give the ball back to the Broncos. I don't know. So I don't know. Whatever. Let me not go down the Jets lane here. But again, when you just watch the Denver
Jets just got tossed into not talking about you for a while pile. They're all
right. Cool.
They got. I wouldn't say it's a ban, but it's kind of a soft ban for them for a little bit.
I didn't get the memo, so I'm glad you told me that.
Oh, no, I'm just stating it for the first time, so don't worry. The football 301, that's just where I'm instituting it right now. There's no more talking about an interesting run game. Fields looking better. No. You guys get a soft ban for a few weeks.
I think that's for the best. Anyways, on the Broncos, again, when you watch the offense right now, they cut the field a lot with a lot of these bootlegs. There was a 3rd and 10 play where they just ran the ball, don't even try to get into a real drop back situation. And I think they're kind of still trying to figure out their receiver personnel. Like Troy Franklin has been the number 2. He's kind of been a hitter. Honestly, he looks a lot like the player he was as a prospect, is a separator and interesting with the ball in his hands at times, but makes real mistakes at the catch point. They haven't really got Pat Bryant going yet. Marvin Mims is just a gadget guy. There hasn't really been any true development there, I would say, beyond Courtland Sutton. So when you take away Sutton, that's it. There's just nothing really there. And I don't think they call the plays as if they do not trust the quarterback with all the screens and all the half field reads. And it's just, to me, why is that? Is this they actually don't believe in Bo Nix, or is this what Sean Payton wants to be as an offensive play caller right now, which I also think is confusing, because that's not really what I think the best stuff of this offense. And when they really do get into some drop back situations and can hammer those in-breaking routes to Courtland Sutton, it looks really good. It's just everything else leaves me wanting more. So to me, it doesn't look like an offense that I would have faith in right now being a real contender. And it bothers me a little bit that that's how the coaching staff is treating it as well.
They're playing not to make a mistake, which is not what I kind of envisioned. Sean Payton is so aggressive as a play caller. How many shot plays he calls, how many is hey, not even just going on 4th down, but just it's 3rd and 1. We're not even just running the ball. Here's a play action. And I think, but to me, it just feels like what you're getting at is just it does feel like they're just tight right now. They're 28th in success rate right now, which is not where I expected this offense to be. Yeah, it's not a good offense round. DVOA, they're 18th. So, okay, yeah. But I was expecting this offense to be easily in the top half, where it was a pretty average or better run game, slightly above average run game, 12th-ish, 10th-ish, and then a passing game that's kind of a little volatile because of Bo Nix, but also can get those shot plays. But there's just no consistency. They don't take, the one thing that Bo Nix does well at is he does not take sacks. But the detriment of all that is that he passes up a lot of opportunities as a thrower because his eyes come down and then he scrambles. He's a good scrambler, but he looks to scramble, looks to run, but then it's not running to throw and make a big play. It's running to pump fake 3 times and then running out of bounds. It's avoiding sacks, but he's stepping up and turning his shoulders parallel to the line of scrimmage, which is always scary for me when I see quarterbacks doing that. Jalen Hurts does it a lot. Because that to me means you want to be in flow. You want to have that shoulder pointing at the line of scrimmage because that's how you have to throw. You turn your shoulders when it's okay, I have to open up and there's maybe a crossing route that I have to change my arm angle. People watching on YouTube can see this a little bit better, but changing my arm angle so where I can throw it sidearm and everything. Bo Nix turns and his feet are all out of whack. And then as soon as I see that, I'm like, hold on to your hat, because you're not sure where the ball is going to go. You're not sure if he's going to scramble. You're not sure how the accuracy is going to go. And I'm with you where it's I thought there'd be some next step. Even if I'm not the biggest Bo Nix fan, I thought there'd be some next step to this offense, and it just feels worse than actually how last year felt.
It feels worse,
the second half of last year felt. When they really can, and some of that is, you mentioned cutting off the field. This is why I know everyone thinks the play action knob, you just crank it up, and why don't you run play action every play? Why don't you move the pocket every play? Because it limits what you can run passing concept wise. Mm-hmm. And this is Sean Payton, who's got everything in the bag. Everything in the bag. He runs every concept, every passing concept, every protection, every run concept. So the fact that he's like, no, I'm running the same half field, they call it dash pass, extended sprint out, big sprint out concepts, 2-man routes, 3-man routes. All right. And those 3-man routes, they're only running overs and corners and flats because you're running the routes to the side of the sprint out. Well, as a defense, all right, I'm going to treat that like a bootleg. All right, cool. All right, we got the flat. Someone carries the over. Nix isn't throwing it deep. Get ready for the scramble, or get ready for something now you're taking away rock and paper and you're just throwing scissors all the time. And over time, good defenses are going to go, okay, you'll get us once in a while when you do throw a rock, but we'll just bet that you're going to throw scissors again. And we'll just keep pounding it with our rock over and over again. And that's what their passing game feels like. In the run game, they had an injury. Powers was out. Dobbins is fine, but again, they need a run game to help everything out right now, because I think the pass game is inconsistent. Pass catcher wise, I still think they have so many young guys. They're sorting that out. Evan Ingram's kind of just been a nothing in this offense. It is, like you said, Sutton or bust. They're getting RJ Harvey going a little bit and trying to figure out how to use him. But again, it just feels like everything is designed. They played the Chargers, and I think we stated this was in the preview show. It's like it comes down to those 5-6 shot plays that Sean Payton calls. If you can defend them, you can withstand this offense. So it's like he's going to throw those half dozen haymakers. If you can withstand those, all right, we don't bet that you can run 55 other successful plays over and over again. So I'm with you. I'm expecting something because the defense is really rolling right now, and I was like, all right, the run game will at least be good to complementary football. But I agree with you that the passing game is just not consistently explosive, not consistent overall. And I'm curious what their next step is too as well. It's a good question, Matt Harmon. As we take our first break over a half hour into this show, hell yeah, we will be coming back with a few more questions for contending teams. All right, we are back. And because this is the official National Jaguars podcast, we both have questions for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, me and Matt just separately picked questions on different teams, and we only had 2 teams that we overlapped on, and this is one of them, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to let you start, actually, because that performance against the Seahawks, as good as we were feeling after Monday Night Football against that Chiefs team, Seahawks was kind of like, this is it. A lot of the questions before the season were rearing their ugly heads. So what is your question for the Jaguars right now?
Yeah, I think our 2 questions kind of go together here completely unintentionally. But yeah, for me, this is definitely one of those questions where I'm not asking the team. I'm more asking existentially, asking the room here. Is it just going to be the same old over the course of the season in the passing game? Because, man, it was so frustrating in this game in Seattle where Trevor's Trevor. I don't even know. We can go down the Trevor road, but he's Trevor. Okay.
That was a bad Trevor. That was like a bad average Trevor game where it's just like you're spraying early. He gets to, whatever. Keep going. Sorry. I don't
it's so funny. Like he actually is, he actually is the perfect sort of prime meridian quarterback in the NFL right now because he actually does only, in my personal opinion, you can feel free to disagree with me on this. I feel like he consistently hovers somewhere between 18th and 13th best quarterback in the league. So he's kind of hovering in that range. And sometimes it's a better than average Trevor game, and sometimes it's below. It's never horrendous, and it's never excellent. Throughout
there's never 4 quarters of perfection. Wire to wire. Yep, exactly.
Whereas like Kirk Cousins, when he was the prime rating of the court, he'd have a month where he was the 5th best quarterback in the league, and a month when he was the 25th best quarterback in the league. So, Trevor just kind of like hovers right in this range here. This was definitely one of those where he's right hovering around 18th or something. So that's just Trevor. He is what he is. And we'll see if that changes over the course of the season for whatever reason. But just from the way the passing game feels, I definitely just want more. I'm every single week I leave here wanting more. I think they've done a really good job working around Brian Thomas Jr.'s issues, as we've talked about. I feel like I've talked about ad nauseum this year, which is going over the middle of the field and working against zone coverage and consistently catching the football, fighting through contact. There's a lot of good plays on the film from this past week, which is like, yeah, this is why he's a really talented player. And they've done a really good job of saying, all right, you're not really great at this stuff right now. Let's put you more on the boundary and have you go a lot against press coverage, because that's where he's best. And he responded with some really good plays. And then there's 2 horrendous plays in critical moments where he's working over the middle of the field, because you can't just not have your wide receiver 1 work over the middle of the field in today's NFL, especially in this offense. Travis Hunter, season high route participation, air yards per target under 4. I see plenty of plays where he's open downfield and he's just never getting the ball on those plays, at least not consistently. And then he's still a mess operationally. He's offsides, gets the touchdown called back. So it's just, I've seen enough of him like raising his hands whenever Trevor Lawrence changes the play, and then
looks at the sideline. He asks the receiver
always.
Coach what he has. It happens every time. I know. Yeah, sorry, but that's real. That's very real. Yeah.
Every game, and that's just, is that just going to be the way it is all season? Again, are you going to consistently have these issues with your number 1 receiver? They get some nice moments out of the role players, right? Parker Washington, I've said, really nice role player. The run game has been pretty good this year, but then it all kind of fell apart leading into your question here up front in this past game. So you can take it away there, but that's just my kind of just, is it going to be this way all year, or is there at some point the light turns on?
I know they go and they play in London this week against the Rams.
Yeah.
Fun appointment.
Soft landing spot.
Opponent. Yeah. And then they got their bye week and then come back with the Raiders. So it's like, all right, can you put together 4 quarters of good against the Raiders? And my question, it was something that it's been in the back of my mind since the beginning of the season. And I know people have been sharing pressure stats and yards before contact. The O-line is like, it's not even a question. It's more just like more of a statement, more of an observation. They allowed over a 50% pressure rate against the Seahawks. And again, the Seahawks have a badass defensive line. So, but that's the thing. If you want to be a contender, you're going to face some badass defensive lines in the playoffs. Like, that's how it goes. So that's the main concern, because I just don't know if an injury happens, which it did, Robert Hainsey was out. All right, now we're playing a 7th round rookie at center. If someone else gets hurt, what's the depth? I know they took the guy from Willem from West Virginia. He's fine. It could be kind of like a backup plugger. I'm trying to figure out exactly what his best spot is in the NFL. But just like looking at this whole unit, I mean, it was Walker Little allowed 13 pressures. And I just was surprised that it was just not a lot of chip help was going his way. It felt like actually there was a little bit, and LaQuinn Allen had one chip where he made one of the Seahawks defenders rise up about 5 yards. But it was just that's been my biggest concern. If you guys get into a deficit and you have to truly drop back, and you can't do, Liam Cohen, when they have a good game script, which they've had a lot of good game scripts this year. I think they've been more in the lead than any team in the NFL this year. All right, now I can't get to the screens all the time. I can't get to the play action stuff. I can't get to, we're under center. We're using the jet motion stuff and everything to, present the eye candy. And so when we get into this deficit, we just have to drop back. I do think Trevor can handle that, but I don't think the O-line can handle it. And especially if we have to attack deep, well, then we have to hold the ball for longer than 3 seconds. And you saw Trevor a couple times where when there's some coverage stuff happening, he was like, okay, I'm one and done. Because he also doesn't trust Travis Hunter yet, which you just mentioned too. There's some pre-snap stuff. There's a couple 3rd downs I've noticed. He did it in a good way. And then I think in the Seahawks was the bad way. Good way against the Chiefs, bad way against the Seahawks was, all right, number 1's covered. Trevor's just going to scramble. I'm just going to run.
Yeah.
And there's a couple times where Travis Hunter is popping open, but I think Trevor's gone I don't know if he even knows the route, so am I going to trust him on 3rd down, or can I just run for this and just take it out of their hands? They're trying to find that balance. I do think there'll be a bump after again, this is going to be a good bye week team because there's so much pre-snap stuff happening. And we talked about a bunch, how many illegal shifts they get, illegal formations they get. Do think that'll clean up. It's a young skill position group. But I do think that the O-line is still my biggest concern, because it's I know they played better, and I kept saying this, and I'm saying for the 100th time, they're playing better, but they're not good. And again, that's where it really showed against the Seahawks defensive line that could actually get after them, and just doing it with some simulated, some 4-down stuff. I just, it's a big, big concern for me, even if I do like other parts of what's going on. So I think we're in the same spots. Like, I want to see them after the bye week. Do they clean this stuff up? Does Travis Hunter get the playbook going? And then we can maybe see that next step from the offense. But inconsistent Jacks is how I'll kind of put it. Getting to the next one. This is one of mine. It's the Chiefs. And I think I'm feeling pretty good about the Chiefs offense, especially with Rashee Rice coming back. The O-line's looking good. Run game got a little more explosive. Charles and I talked a little bit about this on a recap show. I really am feeling good with the team speed that they're using, and or how they're getting these guys the ball in space and everything. Mahomes might be freaking MVP right now.
I know.
Based on whatever
he's playing
everybody else dropping off. But no, it's 6 weeks in. Who cares? But it's also my question though is, can the defense find its best 11? And really, it's the back end that I'm focused on. This is a quick one for me, but the defense is average right now, which is an improvement from maybe the first couple of weeks. They had 7 DBs play against the Lions, which I thought was really interesting. But overall, this defense, 19th in DVOA, 18th in success rate, 19th in EPA per play, 15th in suplex. Average. Average. That's kind of how they look. DB-wise, though, and this is where when Spags is really cooking, it's when he gets these DBs going and gets them into the roles that work. And that I have a lot of faith of him sorting this out. He does every single year. But Noel Williams, who Charles gave a shout out to, he played on the outside for this Chiefs team on Sunday night against the Lions. And that's interesting to me because it opens up using McDuffie as a weapon again. McDuffie was able to move around the entire night. He was outside on each spot, outside left a third at a time, outside right a third at a time, and then a slot a third at a time. Jaden Hicks is getting used as this quasi linebacker, the dime backer. Shout out Dan Sorensen. He's kind of a better version of that. Jalen Watson's had some nice moments on outside. Okay, now Chamari Connor doesn't have to play slot as much. He can only be there in certain looks, maybe run heavy looks. They got Cook at safety, and they got Christian Roland Wallace. He had the interception against the Giants. So really for me, can this defense sort itself out? I bet they can because of Spags, but what is their best 11, or what are the best 11 out there? Because everything else seems set up front in that linebacker. So how this DB room sorts out, I'm keeping my eye on. Again, I'm answering my own question that I think they can figure it out, but it's more of a curiosity of like, what does Spags think of his own room? And that's kind of my big question for them.
Yeah, I thought those linebackers played well on Sunday night, really well on Sunday night, which is what you're going to need against Detroit.
Leo Chanel.
Chanel was great. Williams, that's a good shout out though with him because I talk about this a lot in like fantasy, where the guys that you don't care about, the role players, right? You might not care about these guys who are not putting up production for you, but it's what those guys do to help unlock the best players that really helps a unit, and that's exactly right with this Chiefs secondary and McDuffie because. Yeah, when you can move him around and he becomes, like, as you said, a real weapon, that's when this defense goes from solid to, all right, we're whooping people in the playoffs, and I think that I'm with you. This team has all of the cachet that you'd want to think they can get there, and let's just see how it plays out.
Yeah, with this AFC, man, it's like I feel almost as good about the Chiefs as anybody else in the AFC.
Sure.
Like if I had to power rank just the 3-3 Chiefs, I'm like, yeah, no, they're inevitable. And Mahomes is playing like this. This is and offensive ideas. They've sprinkled in some more stuff. They've gone away from some of the bullshit and they're just running some good plays. Run the good plays, but when I say that, but like more. But actually, more sound.
Get under center and bully people with your offensive line. Yeah, yes. Let's do it. Yes. Let's do that.
We actually have a good offensive line. Just run over them. just run them. Don't have to do any tricky stuff with the backfield. So yeah, no. And their pressure rate, they're second in pressure rate right now. So like especially when they're just rushing 4, I should say, it's actually the best pressure rate a Chiefs defense has had since Spags has been their defense coordinator, which I think is really interesting because that's not exactly how I felt, but that's kind of George Karlaftis is playing really well. So, and I actually think Chris Jones is doing more on review than maybe when you watch him. He's actually impacting plays way more than you would think just stat wise. So, I think the Chiefs defense, just how they sorted out, it's really interesting to me. All right, Matt, what's your next question for a contender?
Yeah, for me, I'll go to the 49ers and just how good can this offense be when/if everyone is healthy? Because right now they're number one in plays run per game, just over 69. They're 10th in success rate, but they're 22nd in points per game offensively, which I think sounds about right. They're doing a lot. They're moving the ball. They're just not able to consistently finish, which makes sense when you're cycling, when you've got Mac Jones and you can't run the football at all. They just scored their first rushing touchdown of the season last week. You can't really run the football consistently. And, you're cycling through, no disrespect to these guys, but like Kendrick Bourne and a pissed off Jawan Jennings, Demarcus Robinson. The Jennings thing is very much on my radar. We don't have to go down the whole rabbit hole with that, but that seems a little bit of an untenable situation to me.
There's something weird going on there.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the guy that I don't think really wants to be there, and it's because he didn't get the bump that he wanted, and now he's all banged up and is not going to get the incentives that he signed for. It's just that feels a little bit untenable.
He said, because someone asked him why him and Shanahan were fighting. He goes, I don't know, ask him. I'm playing with 4 broken ribs. So it's
5.
Like, okay,
he said 5 broken ribs. Yeah, and I've talked.
So what you're saying? Oh, I'm not going to get paid. I'm playing with broken ribs, and you can't get me the ball. All right, screw that. Like he's in a contract here, so he wants to look good too. That's why he's out on the field. So
and wants to give a reason why. Hey, if he's not producing, which he is not. Like a consistently productive player. Hey, this is why. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're like, nobody is playing an NFL player that has 5 broken ribs, like a wide receiver like that. Nobody's getting cleared with 5 broken ribs. So, I mean, I don't know. Just again, something weird going on there. But they have so many guys coming back. Obviously Ricky Pearsall, when is he going to get back? George Kittle might get back this week. Obviously, their damn starting quarterback, Brock Purdy, and then Brandon Ayuk. I don't really know when or if Brandon Ayuk will be at his best. Probably 2026. Is when the Ayuk thing will really get rolling here. I'm not counting on him. Look at what's happening in Tampa Bay with Chris Godwin right now. He's back and then he's not, and then that might be what Ayuk is. But shoot, even if it's an offense with Kittle and Ricky Pearsall and Brock Purdy, I think this offense can push towards being a top 10 offense with just those guys and this version of Christian McCaffrey even just being a receiving asset. But again, it's when are we going to get all of those guys back out there? And if they are, I think that they're a dangerous team that could push to win their division. I think they could be a team that makes some noise in the playoffs, but at some point we do just have to see everybody out there.
Yeah. Oh man, they play Sunday night against the Falcons. So we we'll get a nice little opportunity to watch that. And I mean,
I think Mac Jones has played well. That makes me nervous, him going against that pass rush after what they just did to Josh Allen, because that is definitely a guy that's not about to be creative in the pocket.
Yeah, and their offense, it's like you have to throw hot, so it's not like they're going to readjust anything. Yeah, that's a real interesting styles mixed fight kind of matchup there. Got some Raheem Morris, Kyle Shanahan, familiarity. No, I'm with you. I'm curious when Kittle comes back. They're trying to do their best impression, Steven Spielberg impression of what's going on, but it just is. Fred Warner getting hurt is just so disappointing to me, because it's like now, like the offensive questions is huge, and now it's the defense question. It's like, all right, can you guard anything over the middle too?
That's the thing. The offense is going to have to carry a bigger burden now, because you've lost easily your 2 best players, and one guy, Fred Warner, who's I think consensus best player at his position in the NFL. So it's just like that offense is going to have to carry a bigger weight. Yeah, Senior Spielberg. That's what I actually meant to say. All right, we're going to take our next break. We'll come back with a couple more questions for Contenders. See you guys in a sec. We are back. A couple more questions here, including one that we both had a question on, and that's because they're a contender. They're leading their division. That's the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think it's kind of funny because what our questions are about the Steelers. I'm going to start. Mine is the passing game good enough? And really, this is just more an opportunity to talk about Aaron Rodgers in the year 2025, because while I think this run game, especially with Jalen Warren, and they got Caleb Johnson going a little bit, the run game is okay. They're doing some interesting things. It's Arthur Smith run game. Zach Frazier looks like a freaking all-pro at center. All right, I'm buying into the run game. I haven't even looked at a stat for them, but I'm like, eye test wise, I watched that Browns game, which is so stinky.
I watched so many Dylan Gabriel dropbacks. He'll throw it over the middle, but he also gets players killed. So I was like, okay, feeling good about that. Then I'm watching the offense. And I thought, Rodgers didn't take a stack. And I was like, okay, how'd you do that? Like, how'd you get to this? How did you get to exactly how you're playing and everything? How is his offense moving? How's everything going? All right. Long-winded way to say he is throwing really, really short right now. He is air yards per attempt. Aaron Rodgers is 5.3 air yards per attempt. The record since 2013 is 5.1 air yards per attempt by Alex Smith in 2020 with the Commanders. That was busted, but Alex Smith at the tail end of his career. He was never pushing the ball, but then he was like really not pushing the ball. This would be tied for the second lowest since 2013. The one that he's tied with is Trevor Siemian when he played for the Jets in 2023. There's only 3 quarterbacks that have ever been under 5.5 air yards. So not taking sacks, not pushing the ball. His average time to throw is 2.44 seconds, which is dead last in the NFL, or the quickest in the NFL if you want to be nice about it. Only a quarter of his throws travel 10 or more air yards, which is dead last, 24.6%. He has 34 throws this year that have traveled 10 or more air yards. For comparison, Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield lead the NFL with 78 passes that have traveled 10 or more air yards. That's more than double. The league average is 55. DK Metcalf is basically the only receiver he targets. And it's like DK Metcalf go balls and a lot of checkdowns to tight ends and a lot of screens and a lot of checkdowns to running backs and then punting and then just being average. He's 23rd in success rate, 16th in EPA per dropback. So like once they get to the red zone, he's had some really nice moments. I will say that. And he can still spin the ball, but he's not moving at all. He's not throwing it deep at all. It's kind of a Big Ben late career plus kind of impersonation right now going on with the Steelers offense. So I do think the Steelers are a pretty solid team. They feel very Mike Tomlin-y, of course, but is this offense at passing game explosive enough to kind of like keep it going throughout the entire year? I don't think so, because I think they could be average. I think they could be efficient, but man, it's really hard when you're not generating explosives time and time again, and you're not even pushing the ball, because there's times where those linebackers are like 3 yards because everybody knows what's about to come. It's runs and checkdowns. So is this passing game going to be explosive enough for them to kind of keep it rolling? That's my big question for them.
Yeah, and in the passing game, specifically DK Metcalf, as you mentioned, who's the only receiver he throws to, 11.7 yards after catch per reception. So it's been a lot of like, hey, well, this is how we're getting big plays. We're going to have to hit DK. He's going to have to run with the football, which I think it was why I was interested in him in this offense, was because I think with the end breakers, those are his best routes. And, it's definitely interesting. It's good to see him be used that way. It's just they do need another dimension. There's all these rumors like, oh, they want to trade for a wide receiver. They're probably just going to trade for Alan Lazard or something like that. Like, don't get your hopes up on who that's going to be.
Because Rodgers gets his buddy back.
Exactly. I mean, he didn't, whatever. So it'll be something like that. But they definitely need. I mean, I don't really know how I feel about the offense. In the run game, you mentioned they are top 10 in running back run success rate wise, but they're sub 4 yards per carry and they have a high stuff rate, but they just churn on the ball. And I think you felt that a little bit the last couple of games with them. They got 3 backs involved. They got Caleb Johnson back involved last week. They got Jalen Warren, Kenny Gainwell. Like Rodgers has talked about how much he likes Kenny Gainwell, so don't expect him to go anywhere. My question for this team is actually on the other side of the ball, which is this defense good enough against dangerous teams? Like how good can this defense really be? Because we've seen, I can't really get the first 2 weeks out of my head. And I think those are the two. They played Drake May and the Patriots in week 3, but I don't think that offense had like fully come together just yet. Obviously,
they forced like 5 turnovers, didn't they? Like it was just
exactly. A lot of fumbles, turnovers, stuff like that. And Diggs hadn't really like broken out quite just yet to being a full-time player for New England at that point. But the first 2 weeks where that Jets offense we were talking about earlier took them to task, and they definitely felt like the slower unit, an old and slow unit. And then week 2 against Seattle, I mean, they just got smoked a couple of times, both, of course, by JSN, but even like Cooper Kupp giving Jalen Ramsey the business at certain points. But then again, the 2 games on either side of the bye, Vikings, okay, whatever. Beat the Vikings with Carson Wentz, whatever. And then obviously Dylan Gabriel and the Browns. That doesn't really tell me anything. So I just want to know, like, is this defense good enough to carry an offense that I think has its strengths, but as you laid out really well, has plenty of holes to go along with it. So I got to kind of figure that part out. To me, that's like the key for the Steelers season. Is this really a defense that is tough to play against? Having Porter back healthy definitely matters, but nevertheless, like, that's something I'm still not 100% convinced on.
Yeah. Steelers. Still, I can't commit anything to Steelers. Like, even as you were talking, I was like, am I out of line? Some of the stat stuff, and it's like, no, like, this kind of sums up. Their rushing game's actually very, like you just made. They churned it. 8th in rushing success rate. I think they are 30th in explosive runs. 3% of their runs, and Rodgers ain't picking up any more explosive runs for them either. But then the passing game actually is a little bit more explosive than I even gave them credit for. They're 15th, which is. They're at 13.4%. I always mention this. 14% is kind of the threshold you have to get to be real. So they actually have the numbers there, but it's just like, can you live this way? Maybe that's the best way I could put it. You know, being 15th in success rate or 21st in passing success rate, they get to that 18th, 20th mark. I think they can, but it's like, I don't know. Stuff is feeling tight to me when I watch the offense, even if they are kind of moving the ball decently. All right, let's get on to your last one, or independent one, I should say. What is that for you, Matt Harmon?
Yeah, for me, real simple. Colts, the number one team in the AFC right now, the Indianapolis Colts, just like we all planned it.
Yes.
Is this secondary a ticking time bomb? They have had a lot of injury issues. They're down to like corner 6 through 8 on the preseason depth chart last week, which obviously Travarius Ward slamming into his tight end in the pregame warmups. That's not what the hell is going on with the pregame warmups of the Indianapolis Colts? Anthony Richardson's on IR. He's not even playing. He gets put on IR.
Broken eye socket. An orbital
broken
bone.
Eye socket. Yeah.
Oh my God. Glass
and then Travarius Ward again. I know, seriously. And then Ward, isn't this his second concussion of the year now? Where again, he got it because he blasted into the backup tight end during warmups. I mean, let's head on a swivel there, Ogletree. Like, we can't just be taking out our number one corner in warmups. You know, Xavier Howard retired, which I think happened in the middle of our show. A couple of weeks ago. Obviously Kenny has been, he's not been out there consistently. So obviously they need to get healthy. That's a big part of it, but it just feels like that's a unit that good teams can fry right now. They do some creative stuff up front for sure. But at the same time, that seems like an Achilles heel that I want this offense to be in positive. The offense is good, obviously. Like we've settled that the offense is good. They can throw so much at you. They're the real everybody eats team, as I said last week. They're the real everybody eats offense. Getting Josh Downs involved, Alec Pierce adding like new layers and dimensions to his game, I think, this year, which has been cool to see in terms of like working over the middle. But I still want that offense playing kind of ahead of schedule. I don't want them in trailing situations. And as much as the Jacoby Brissett-led Cardinals were like a sick fascination for me on Sunday, just for obvious reasons, I don't know if I come away from that like, oh yeah, Jacoby Brissett had a better passing performance than Kyler Murray has had in the last 2 years, which is a fact. I don't know if that was more about Jacoby Brissett or the fact that the Colts are just so beat up in the secondary.
Yeah. I mean, the stats show this as well. You know, they're not stopping the run as like not as stout against the run as I kind of envisioned this defense. I kind of was like, I thought their body types were going to be good at it. Grover Stewart, DeForest Buckner, just who they have coming in from the slot and everything. As far as, Lou Anarumo really likes to kind of like funky it up, have guys moving and everything, so it can create some big plays for the defense, even if like we can kind of get bopped a little bit. So yeah, I'm with you. I think the corners is the weak spot. It was even when Howard was playing, because he was like one of the easiest targets in the NFL. Yeah. So it's like he was our starter and now he's gone. So obviously they thought he was better than whoever they had. So if Ward's gone too, I think the safety plays good. And I think Lou Anarumo really weaponizes safeties. If you remember him with the Bengals and Jesse Bates and everything. But I think corners. So I agree with you that is kind of more the issue too, and that you can kind of move the ball on them. It's more they have to generate these. They want to get to third down, and then that's when Lou can kind of go, all right, here's the good stuff. All right, we're going to stop him here. So I think it's a good question for them.
The problem with the Lou Anarumo thing, and I agree with you. He's a great designer of these game plans and stuff. But when you're doing all that funky stuff and your personnel, we've seen this in Cincinnati, and your personnel is not that great. You get blasted on third down. It's like, oh yeah, here's this funky rotating safety stuff, and then corner 2 just left a guy wide ass open, and then teams just keep converting. So yeah, it's one of those things where that stuff looks great when you have good players. When you have substandard personnel, it can be like a compounding issue on top of things. And I think at this point, what we know about Lou Anarumo, he's not about to be the most flexible dude in the building and change things up to adjust for this.
No, he's like, hey, we'll just throw more funk at it. Yeah, the stats. I kind of wrap this up. They're 25th in explosive passes allowed, and that's kind of what it's boom bust. The defense is very boom bust, and the offense is pretty awesome. One of my favorite weekly watches, which I'm happy to say right now. Alec Pierce and Rashid Shaheed might get paid this offseason.
Oh, they're going to get
some deep speed.
Yeah, they're going to get big time money.
Sweet. I'm really digging Rashid Shaheed. I know, more than just a speed guy. He's like a real receiver. So it's been fun to watch him. My last one's pretty quick, and it's more complimentary, but it's the Rams, because I think the Rams are a contender, even with the Puka Nacua injury. And that would be my question. But really, I want to go with, is this defense for real? Because stat-wise, they're up there, and I think they've had some good performances. They're 5th in DVOA, 2nd in suplex, 3rd in EPA per play. They don't give up a lot of explosive plays, which is what I was concerned about with this team. Good in passing success rate, they're 4th. 13th in rushing success rate, which is where you can jab on them because they're not the biggest front. And they are a team that's really funky and a lot of actions and a lot of stuff and light bodies and stuff going everywhere. So I thought they maybe be susceptible to explosive plays and you can just pop them in the run game. But this is another team where I don't totally trust their corners. I trust their defensive coordinator, Chris Shula, and I trust their safeties. The safeties aren't the fastest guys. I think their names are Cam and Cam, Kitchens and Curl. And I think that those safeties, though, can kind of like really play safety where they shore things up and they keep things in front of them. And they're also very, I'm trying to think of the word, aggressive. They will be willing to jump things. And I think this, because of the coach and because of the scheme, they kind of get weaponized where it's like, hey, this is your opportunity to jump something. Against the Colts is actually probably the best example of what this defense can be. Opportunistic. Okay, you can get us a little bit because the back end's not the most talented. Linebackers aren't, definitely. I still see Troy Reader out there for them. But it's just really that they can bait you into that one turnover, passing game wise, and then hold up. And their pass rush is awesome. Outside just Verse, who's just tremendous, pushing the pocket and everything. But Byron Young is a great player and just getting after it. Run and pass. He's just been a really, really good player. I like the young guy, Josiah Stewart. Kobe Turner's a good player. Poona Ford's really helped, I think, in this defense as well. Just kind of the island misfit toys, just a lot of funky guys on that defensive front. But I really, really, the question is kind of complimentary. It's like, I thought this defense could maybe be average at best. And all right, can they hold up if you get blocked up? And right now the answer is yes. Like, it's not perfect, and they haven't played, a total murderer's row of offenses, but still it's just like, I think this defense can hang and can keep them in contender land. So really it's just more, I want to I'm keeping my eye on it. I guess this Jaguars game will be a fun one too, but as they play better offenses, are they able to get picked at, or really can they scheme this up and win with their pass rush? Because even when they get blocked up for longer than 2.5 seconds, I looked it up, or on Next Gen Stats, they were still like a top 10 passing defense. And that was the big thing last year. That was the stat I kept throwing out, was under 2.5 seconds, top 5 pass defense. Over 2.5 seconds, bottom 5 pass defense. So if they're just average in that, that's a huge improvement. And that was the biggest question mark I had for them. So is the defense for real? Because I trust the offense completely, even if they like to mess around sometimes, get a little too cute, and Stafford likes to do trick shots and just they feel themselves a little bit sometimes, but I trust.
Don't worry. He only ever does it on a 1 p.m. Eastern game against Baltimore that now no one's watching, so nobody will ever talk about it. Nobody will ever talk about that Stafford game. They'll only talk about when he's absolutely white hot in prime time. So don't worry. That's when they like to do their messing around. He'll throw 5 touchdowns against Jacksonville without Puka Nacua as everybody's watching the international game in the morning. Don't worry about that. But yeah, no, I think I'm being a little facetious there, but I love your point about
it's
this.
True. Hey, island games count triple. Remember, they count triple.
Exactly. Yes. Correct. But yeah, Jacksonville this week. Then they go on the bye. Then they get New Orleans. Yep. Then I think we get interesting here. San Francisco, Seattle, Tampa Bay. Those games, because I think all of those, we'll see who's playing quarterback for the 49ers, but obviously we know what the Niners, even with Mac Jones, did to them last time defensively. Just patient, pick the spots. Obviously, Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield are the hottest quarterbacks in the NFL. So, again, when you go against high-level quarterbacks who can find those holes if it's blocked up, which I think both offensive lines have been pretty good in protection, but especially Tampa Bay, now that they're getting healthy, I think that will be those will be the big tests for this team.
Well, we're wrapping it up. That was fun. Asking questions, rhetorical. Some we answered ourselves. Some we're going to wait and see. But either way, it's fun. I'm glad we didn't do our power rankings because I have no idea how I would sort out the NFL in power rankings.
Oh, hell no.
No clue. I keep looking. I could name 8 teams and I don't feel great about any of them. I feel best almost about the Chiefs of all teams right now, which is not what I was expecting a couple weeks ago when I laid into them. Kind of reversed back to what I was thinking before the season with them. I actually feel good about the Seahawks more than anyone. Both sides of the ball. Rams too up there as well. Colts, Lions, Bucks. All those good teams. We'll talk about that as the weeks go along. Thank you, Matt, for joining me. We're closing it out today. Chuck and I will be back on Thursday to preview week 7, lucky number 7. I'm Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice. That is Matt Harmon. You can find him at Matt Harmon_BYB. What are you working on this week? You and I will be back together on the fantasy forecast in the film room. But what else you got this week?
Just mostly that podcasts.
That's
writing,
bi-week ads, right?
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I'm writing a piece right now on underperforming wide receivers this season. Some names you probably expect and some you don't. So it's a little, takes on takes, baby. We're in the middle of football season.
Stack them up. Stack them up. Some take burgers. Filing. Put them on the carousel. Just get them all. Churn them out. Get those takes out there, Matt. But no, make sure to subscribe to us here at Football 301, wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us. Rate us 5 stars. Pretty please. Leave some comments in there. I see some on Spotify. That's pretty fun to check out. Also, watch us on YouTube, on the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. That's where we do our Sunday live shows as well. Me and Chuck after the late afternoon games. Thanks to Stone, Austin, and Madison behind the scenes for making us look and sound good. Thank you all for listening. See you guys next time.